Sairam. You're listening to Sai Soul 100, a weekly podcast series with soul, or stories of unconditional love, shared by devotees of Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba in celebration of his 100th birthday. We invite you to listen in on these motivational stories of his constant loving presence in devotees' lives, offered at his lotus feet by the Sri Satya Sai International Organization USA Mid-Atlantic region. Welcome to Sai Soul 100.
Sairam, dear listeners, welcome to a special edition of Sai Soul 100. Our guest today is Mr. Amitava Ghose, or as I will call him, Amitava Uncle. He is joining us from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Although Amitava Uncle at a young age believed in God sincerely, his teenage years took a rebellious turn. This is a collection of stories of how Swami waited patiently and then when the time was ripe, brought him back and showered his love unconditionally onto Uncle. Sairam, Uncle, thank you for being here at Sai Soul 100.
It is my pleasure, Mirama.
Yes, thank you. So, Uncle, I know that when you lived in Calcutta, India, with your parents, Vibhuti, Amrit materialized on the pictures of Shri Sai and Satya Sai at your home. Can you tell us about that experience and how you took that experience to be as?
Well, it materialized like in abundance every day for days on together, months, and it came to at one point where people from around Calcutta and around the villages in Calcutta used to sometimes arrive in busloads in the middle of the night and knock on the door to come in to see this Vibhuti thing that was happening. But it didn't do anything for me. That's what I want to say.
Okay. So you didn't believe in it, and in fact, I think you mentioned that Sai Baba often said, when the time is right, even if you keep your doors shut to keep God out, he will break the door down and enter your life and make it beautiful. And that's something that you shared with me, and I think this is a story, a collection of stories where Swami really knocked down the doors and really showered you with a lot of love.
Absolutely, I would say. He really knocked on the door because I was going in the opposite direction and he turned me around completely.
Yes. So, please take us to January of 1980. I think it starts with the blood drive at your workplace. Please take us through that journey.
It was in my office. They used to conduct blood drive, and quite often I used to go there and give. But this time I didn't feel like physically, to give blood on that particular day. But there was some prompting within me that asked me to go and give blood. So I did. And they took my blood and they said, your blood pressure is pretty high. I mean, 150 over 100. So please have it checked. And that's all. So I eventually went to see a doctor at my wife's insistence. And he did an EKG. My heart was fine. My blood pressure was high. And he said, okay, when did you have a last physical? I said, oh, when I came to this country, I had a physical. I had to get it done for the US Embassy in Calcutta. That was in 1965.
That was a long time ago, Uncle.
Long time, until July, because I came here in August of 65 as a student. So he said, okay, lie down, let me check you physically at least. And when he came to the right side of my abdomen, he says, what is this? I mean, there was a hard mass on the right side of my abdomen, which I didn't, relate to anything except for that my trouser size of my waist was increased suddenly by 2 or 3 inches over the past few months. I thought because I drink a lot of beer, have parties every weekend, I attributed that to that. But what I didn't attribute was I was getting night sweats at night, completely drenched from head to toe. I thought that was also maybe because of the same reason. It was hypertension or whatever. So then they sent me for tests, hypertensive IVP, which is the kidney test they followed, and they found that there was a mass on the right kidney. And I had two kidneys that's when I found out were joined together as one called the horseshoe kidney. And the right side of the kidney was not functioning.
So horseshoe kidney is when the kidney is joined
Yeah, at the top,
and
like
connected.
horseshoe.
Okay,
Usually the two kidneys are separate on your
right.
right behind your lungs, but here the two kidneys are joined together. So
Okay.
the medical term is horseshoe kidney, which is not, rare, but it's a complication.
Okay.
And well, so the surgery was scheduled, and obviously the best hospital in this area is the University of Pennsylvania. So that's where I went for surgery. And the first surgery happened on the 20th of May, 1980. And the surgeons removed my right lobe of the kidney and the tumor together with it.
Yeah. And so then what did they find in the tumor?
Well, when they came back with tests, long-term tests, they said your kidney, the tumor is malignant. And to
Okay.
make matters worse, it was diagnosed to be adenocarcinoma, a very fast-spreading and bad strain of the carcinoma family. And at that time, there was no known chemotherapy or, for that type of, carcinoma tumor. So, and the surgeons had seen from inside, from the first surgery, that the tumor had spread and attached to many parts of my abdomen wall, vena cava, which is the main blood carrying vessel, one of the main blood carrying vessels into the heart, and then around the intestines. So they were in a fix. They knew that this is adenocarcinoma and it had attached to all those organs. So they were wondering what they would do. So they thought that my case was hopeless. But even then, since I was young at that time, I was 38, 38 years old. So they said the only option, they had a conference of doctors, the only option we can offer to you is going in for the second time through the same incision and removing your vena cava, which would be, because that's where the main tumor was amassed. But that would be your greatest challenge to come back from that, because you might end up with phlebitis, incurable, very tremendous loss of blood. You may not even survive the surgery. The chances are 30 to 40%. So the choice is yours.
Yeah. So in fact, they actually gave you how many months?
6 months.
6 months.
They told
Yes.
me that even after they removed even after the second surgery, when they removed all the portion of the tumor that had attached to the different organs, they removed, and they thought they would have to scrape because it had been in there, by their estimate, for maybe over a year with the size of the tumor. But
Yes.
it was.
And then I know that while you were in the hospital, your younger brother and your wife, they actually believed in Swami, right? So Satya Sai
Right.
Baba. And they gave you an interesting book to read for a non-believer such as yourself,
Yeah,
who was
right.
very much into hanging out with friends, weekend parties, and
That's right.
yes, smoking, alcohol, all of that
Yeah.
stuff you had mentioned to me sometime earlier. So with that, they gave you a book to read, which was, do you remember the
Man
book?
of Miracles by Howard Murphy.
Okay. And then what happened there?
That book was a really a wonder. The more I read that book, the more I wanted to read. And even at night, I would have my night light on and keep reading, and the nurses would come and tell me, well, you have to take rest, but I couldn't. It was so interesting. I wanted to read more and more.
Yeah.
So after reading that, that's after reading that book, I wrote a letter, to Swami from my hospital bed,
Yes.
and that I said was uh, that Swami, I know that you are aware of everything that is happening to me. I have, rebuked you. I have never accepted you in my life, but now I'm amazed by reading this book that who you are and why you're here on earth. So if I can be a part of your mission, please keep me. Otherwise, just let me go.
Wow, you were actually praying that you recognize who the Lord was, and you were
Yeah,
asking that if you are to be part of his mission, to keep you.
right.
Otherwise, you are okay. That's amazing for you to have that realization at that point.
Yeah,
So then
that's
please
exactly
continue.
what I wrote to him.
Yes, please continue. Then what happened with your
So
surgery?
then the doctors were thinking of giving me chemotherapy, but what they decided, I do not know, but I was praying to Swami that I really didn't want chemotherapy because I saw other patients in my ward and what chemotherapy was doing to them, completely destroying them. So, so amazingly, on the day I was supposed to leave the hospital, the chief oncologist, Dr. Glick, he came over and said, we have, analyzed your case and we are not going to give you chemotherapy. And I leave you in the hands of God. But we'll
Yes,
keep a
yes,
close eye on you. So there'll be more examinations in short periods, like every 2 months, every 3 months, that kind of thing. But we won't give you chemotherapy, which was a blessing because at that time there was no known chemotherapy for adenocarcinoma.
right, right. So I know that you also mentioned that during the surgery, the second surgery, the you mentioned you have to scrape it
Yeah,
really hard
the attachment,
and damage all your organs, but that didn't happen, right?
because it came off like butter, and the surgeons couldn't believe it. They could not believe what they saw. They're still here at University of Pennsylvania. I still have to go for my checkups because being cancer, they say that though the chances of returning becomes less and less, but there's always a chance. So I have to go for my MRIs and chest X-rays and blood tests and all that every year.
Yes.
And the surgeon who performed, he's still there.
Yeah. And I know
He
your
was
miracle.
a young surgeon at that time. Now he's quite old. He doesn't perform that kind of surgery anymore. But
Yeah. And I know, Uncle, that your miracle continues quite rigorously going forward. Um, so you had when you had come home from the hospital, can you share your story of what your wife found in your wallet?
yeah. Well, one other thing is, one night when she came back from the hospital, she entered the house and the house was amazingly full of smell of vibhuti. So that was, I guess, we took it as that as an assurance of Swami that he has probably, he has read my letter and he has given us assurance that he will take care of us. That was in my own mind.
Yes.
So when I came back from the hospital, my wife was going through all my belongings and opened my wallet, and inside the wallet I had a little 2 inch by 2 inch red plastic, folder kind of a thing with the Shirdi Sai Baba picture and Swami's picture on one on each side, which I carried in my wallet, even though I didn't believe in them because of my mother. Because
Yes.
my mother wanted me to have it. I was coming to this country, so she put it in the wallet. Okay, there it stayed. I never even looked at it. Right in between those two pictures was a packet of vibhuti. So I said, oh, there were nurses on my floor who seemed that they might have been from from the South India. Next time when I go for my post-surgical, I will talk to them, which I did. And they were of the Christian faith and they did not know who Sai Baba was. So that the assumption was ruled out. So it remained a mystery where that Vibhuti packet came from.
That's amazing, amazing. And then you were blessed. So this scenario, this drama of your surgery has completed, and this was in June of 1980, I believe.
Correct.
And then in February of 1981, you decided to, or you were blessed to be able to go to see Swami, right?
Yeah.
And that's also had many twists and turns. So please start that journey.
From September of 1980, I had a friend, Saroja Krishnamurti and Giri Shankar Krishnamurti. They had their Cherry Hill Sai Center in their house. So I just started going there. That was my first time when I went to a center and started joined the prayer meetings. So yeah, but I lost.
And then you were saying that you were able to go to India
Yeah,
in
that's right.
February of
Then
1981.
after that, one more thing is, well, that's side thing that something happened within me that I didn't want to be a non-vegetarian. I mean, a vegetarian, non-vegetarian anymore, because I felt that I didn't have to take another life to sustain my life. So I did consider that, even though I was recovering from two major surgeries, I went and discussed that with my surgeon. He said, by all means, become a vegetarian, no problem. And he said, and that's it. Since then, my wife and I became vegetarians. No meat, fish, or eggs.
Yes.
But it was not because Swami had said, but there was some prompting within that I didn't want to take another life to sustain mine. It was not necessary. So then in February of 1981, we traveled to India with my parents, my in-laws, my uncle, my aunt and uncle, and we all, it was a big group of people that we went, and we landed in Bangalore, and we heard that, Swami was in Bangalore. So we went to see Swami that evening for his evening darshan. Swami came by and he gave kind of a recognizing look, but there was no interaction or no Padanamaskars or no conversations or nothing. This went on for a few days. Then Mrs. Rao, who's from Calcutta and a friend of my mother, said, Swami is going to, Hyderabad, to Shiva. So Swami, he said, send your, son and daughter-in-law to Shivam, and you people, if you want, you can go, or you go to Puttaparthi. That's what they decided. And then that day,
they decided that they'll go to Puttaparthi
and we too will go to Shiva,
Okay.
Hyderabad. So Swami that day in the morning, what do you call darshan, he said, people are saying that I'm going to Hyderabad. I do not know where I'm going. People are saying all these things. It's a rumor, I do not know. But anyway, we had to go. So we purchased tickets, boarded the flight, and was going to Hyderabad. The doors had closed. The flight was about to take 5 minutes left of when suddenly Swami's car showed up, and he entered the aircraft with Yogarao, Bhagavantam, Gokak, all his entourage, and he sat down in the front row. The plane landed in Hyderabad. We were very happy that at least Swami has come with us to Hyderabad, so there'll be a chance to talk to him. We put up in a hotel, and we used to go to Shivam every day. Very nice bhajans, very nice darshans, very disciplined. But we realized that it was so big a crowd that we didn't have any chance to get an audience with Swami in Hyderabad. So we decided in our minds, look, not everybody will be interviewed by Swami. Not everybody And the fact that even though Swami doesn't interview you doesn't mean that's the end of your life. He has seen you. He has given us vibhuti. He has given us that beautiful fragrance in our house. So we should be happy that that should be it. Maybe vibhuti, I mean, interview will not happen this time. Maybe later. We do not know. So we again purchased tickets, boarded the flight, and this time the flight had practically started because it was a turboprop, you know, aircraft, and the propellers had already started to turn. That's when Swami's car came up, and we were totally flabbergasted. We couldn't believe that Swami was there at that so close. The plane was about to leave, so they stopped the aircraft, let down the steps, and Swami came up with a big smile. And the Gokak, and Jogarao and Bhagavantam, they all entered, sat down. Swami was in the front row, window seat. They were the Gokak and Jogarao was in the front two seats, and right behind Swami sat Bhagavantam. And the two seats next to Bhagavantam were empty.
So that's amazing. So you had a chance to travel with Swami by flight twice.
Twice.
Twice. And then the second time around, the total surprise to you, but you're saying...
Total surprise, because we had decided to leave. We didn't know
yes.
whether Swami will come or not. We decided to leave because we had to. Because time was running out. We had to come back to this country. I was still working, although the doctors had said, don't work anymore. I mean, go to India, write your will. They're very specific. They say, write your will. They said that. I remember. Go
And so
your parents.
the seat behind Swami, the row of seats behind Swami, you said Dr. Bhagavatam was sitting there.
Right behind Swami. Window
Right.
seat. And the two seats next to Bhagavantam were empty.
Okay.
Not taken. So my wife had the courage to go up and ask Dr. Bhagavantam whether we could come and sit there. So he said, yeah, by all means, come and sit. So that was it. We were sitting so close to Swami. I mean, this was, unbelievable. And Swami was like a little child. He was looking out of the window, pointing to things down below, and talking, making vibhuti for the air hostess.
Oh.
So all those things were happening. And then suddenly someone, a young girl, I think she's from Punjab, she came over and gave a letter to Swami. And Swami immediately opened.
Sorry, she gave letter to Swami?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Swami opened it and started reading the letter. And he was lost in thought. And he closed his eyes, his hands circled. So an idea came to me. Why don't I write a small note? So I wrote a letter. Swami, I've come from far. I really would appreciate an audience with you. So after he had finished reading that letter, I got out of my seat, just around the front row. I handed the little chit to Swami. Swami read it and he turned around and said with a big smile, interview in Bangalore.
Oh.
So naturally, we were elated. We were very happy that this is unbelievable. I don't know what is happening. So we arrived in Bangalore, put up in a hotel in Whitefield, and next day came for darshans. Swami came straight to me and asked me to go inside. So, and that's where he called a few other people and he started talking to them, producing vibhuti for everyone, large amounts. When he would move his hand, a huge amount of vibhuti would come right in his hand and he would give it to them. And then he gave some vibhuti to my wife, and I was holding on to the vibhuti. He realized that she was holding on because she would like to share it with me, but Swami came directly to me and gave me vibhuti and said, eat the whole thing.
Oh.
I can't. So then after that, he started calling the families one by one inside the interview. When our turn came, he saw that I was a little bit nervous or whatever. I was sweating. He said, "Okay." Then he went over to the switchboard and turned the fan on. I thought that was amazing. Here we are, we are saying that he's the Lord on earth, and he was turning on switches for the comfort of his devotees.
Yes.
So then, and then he started relating in vivid detail, I say that, of what had happened to me at the University of Pennsylvania Hospital, how the surgeries had taken place, what had happened between one surgery and another surgery, and how we were so anxious and we were so worried and fearful. He said, I know everything that happened to you, but don't worry. He said, he moved his hand, and like a flash of light, a silver medallion came in the palm of his hand, open palm. He took it off like this, and he gave it to me. He says, wear it. He says, when you leave, you must promise me one thing. Never, ever worry about this incident that happened in your life. Don't worry. And when Swami gives you guarantee, don't worry for a single second. That's the only thing you do for me. And be good and be happy. So that's all. And then we all filed out of the interview room. And then at the end, this is Swami always comes and gives vibhuti packets in his little plastic in a bag. He hands out vibhuti packets to be given to friends, relatives, and all that. I was standing last. So he came over to me. He handed me a whole bunch of vibhuti packet, looked into my eyes, and said, do you remember the vibhuti packet you got in the hospital? I said, yes, Swami. And then he said, he blessed and went inside.
Wow, he just acknowledged the fact that the vibhuti packet that was in your wallet between Shri Sai Baba and Satya Sai Baba in your wallet.
Which we did not know where it came from. Then he acknowledged that that he is the one who placed it over there. So we were very happy and very, I mean, we left Whitefield and started our trek back to Puttaparthi. We went to Puttaparthi and saw our parents, and they were very happy to hear, what had happened to us. And they naturally they wanted to, see Swami, and take his blessings. But time was running out, so we decided, no, we cannot. We have to leave. So we hired a van and started our journey back to Bangalore, and then take the flight back to Calcutta and back to USA. Halfway in between, and the road goes up and down. Our driver said, "Oh, I see Swami's car coming on the other side, on the top of the hill." So we said, "Okay, please, slow down, park the car on this side." We filed out of the van. We put our hands together and stood on the other side of the highway just to get a last glimpse of Swami. Swami's car passed by, and I saw him tap the shoulder of the driver, and his car came to a stop. He rolled down the window, put his head out, and he called us.
Yeah.
Boy, that was, I couldn't explain how emotional it was. So we all ran across the highway. The whole scenario had stopped. All traffic on both sides had come to a stop. We ran across the highway. He opened the door and he gave Pada Namaskars to all my relatives. And he blessed them all. And then he started giving out fruits.
Fruits?
Fruits, yeah.
Okay.
As a prasadam before we left. He gave oranges to everyone. When he came to me, he said, "Oh, I know you. I saved you from cancer." And suddenly he gave me a red apple, like a red delicious apple. And then again continued giving oranges to the rest of the people.
So he gave oranges to everybody, but he just gave you a red apple.
Right.
Okay.
It didn't occur to me at that time, but when I came back to Calcutta, I said, why did he give me a red apple but oranges to everyone? Then it struck me that my friend Venkatraman had gone to the Pittsburgh Venkateshwara temple and had brought back a red apple. He said, you must take this as a prasadam before you go to the hospital for surgery. And that's what we had taken. So that's where I think the Swami put the whole circle together. That was Lord Venkateshwara on the Puttaparthi highway. So that's my story.
Oh, so Amitava uncle, what a heartwarming true collection back to back of stories of Swami's unconditional love showering over you and your family. Starting from when you were a non-believer to being rebellious, and then recognizing his divinity while you were in the hospital by reading a book, and then calling on him and writing that letter. And Swami not only showered you his unconditional love, but also cured you. And then he directly told you in many different ways that he was right there and he cured you. And that's just amazing to have that kind of confirmation. And then he also gave you the blessings to fly with him, not just once, but twice, and then amazing interview. And then finally the Apple story.
And the interview on the highway.
Yeah, on the highway. And
That was-
basically saying that he knows everything and he answers to all names.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Access to all names.
and this was how many years ago, Uncle? 40 years ago. More than 40 years ago.
More than 40 years ago.
Yes.
43 years.
And as you narrate this story, we can feel the powerfulness of it and that the Swami's love that you felt at that time, even though we are narrating it 40 years onward. Thank you for being with us and sharing this really, truly heartwarming, inspiring story for all of us to listen to. Sairam, dear listeners. Thank you for joining Sai Soul 100 with Uncle Amitava Ghose. I'm Prabha Swaminathan. Until next time, Jai Sairam.